Hi. If you are self-employed or new to self-employment, you need to be aware and ready for something called a payment on account. Payment on account is a system whereby if your tax liability in a year is over £1,000, HMRC expects you not only to pay this year's tax liability, but to pay 50% of next year's tax liability in January and the other 50% in July based on this year's numbers. And that system will continue with you until your tax liability comes down and below £1,000. So I have an example here to explain it in a simple way. Yeah, in this example, let's assume we are in the year 2019-20. The tax year is usually from 6th April to 5th of April. So we are in the tax year for 2019-20 ends by the 5th of April 2020. And we are assuming your tax liability for that year is 2000. You are due to pay that by 31st January 2021. But you're not only going to pay that 2000, but you will have to pay an extra 1000 as a first payment on account towards the next year based on this year's number. So by 31st January 2021, you have to pay £3,000, 2000 for this year's tax liability and 1000 toward next year's tax liability as a first payment on account. The second payment on account will be due by 31st July 2021. And these are the two payment on account. Now, let's assume we are, move forward and we are in the year 2020, 2021, and you've done your taxes and you found out you're due to pay 2,500. You've already paid first payment and second payment on account, 2000. You've already paid 2000. You have only 500 remaining to pay as a balancing payment. But that won't be it because you will have to pay the first payment on account for the following year based on this year's number. So this year's number was 2,500 tax liability. Half of that or 50% of that will be 1,250. And so 1,250 plus the 500 that you are due for that tax year, it will be 1,750 that you have to pay. The second payment on account will be by the 31st of July, 2022. Move forward to the following year, which is 2021, 2022. And let's assume your tax liability is 3,000. You've already paid two payments on account of 2,500. So what's remaining is 500. If your tax liability in a year is less than the previous year and you've overpaid the payment on account, so you can, you will be issued with a refund. If your tax liability goes below £1,000, you don't have to be on this system. But you have to be aware that you will incur an interest if you don't pay these payment on account on time. Again, if your tax liability in a year is less than the previous year, you can ask HMRC to reduce this payment on account.